Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm Vidya, and if you're familiar with my videos, you'll know that I talk a lot about reading for young children, specifically babies and toddlers, reading to them. And almost every single day I get a comment or a message, something along the lines of, so I've got the books, but my baby is just not interested. Whenever I try to read to them, he or she just grabs the book and tries to chew on it, or just pushes it away and moves on to other things. So how do I get my baby to be more interested in the books that I'm trying to read to them? The short answer to this is that you don't try to get your baby to do something they don't want to. But if you want to make story time more enjoyable and less stressful for both yourself and the baby, you might find some ideas in this video that you can try. First thing is to look at your expectations about reading, especially for babies and toddlers this young. So if you've been brought up in the traditional conventional education system, you'll have this certain idea that reading has to be done in this particular way. Like, you have to sit down, you have to open the book, hold the book, you have to focus on the written word and then read. But for babies, it's different. For them, it's another experience. It's just another way to explore the world around them, which they're learning, right? So just like how they watch a ball bounce and they try to catch it, or they try to figure out how every food tastes different and every food has a different texture, this is just another way to experience it. That's why I always say that reading is important, yes, but it's just another part of their day, right? So let's say you're reading to your child and your baby or toddler just reaches over and grabs the book and starts to chew on it. Many of us react in this way and we say, hey, no, don't do that. Books are not for chewing, books are for reading, and you take the book away. So what your baby sees is that this is a limit. There's a limitation. I'm not supposed to do this. I don't know why, but if I do it, mom appears to get annoyed, and that's no fun. So I'll just ignore it. I'll do other things that are more acceptable for me to manipulate in my way, right? So I'll find a toy or something that I can chew on or bang on, because they still need to explore with their senses. So if this way is not allowed for them, they'll just find another way. So they're losing interest in that. So I would suggest getting books that you don't mind getting destroyed, or you could choose thick board books or fabric books or books, indestructible books are my favorite for little babies and toddlers, and let them just feel the weight of the book, the texture, the smell, the taste even, and let them experience it in their own way. But if you find that they're chewing on all the books, there might be another reason. They might be teething or something. So you could give them a teether or a chewing toy or something, or a teething cracker or a teething biscuit, right? And then while they're chewing on that, you can flip through the book and see the pictures with them, so that their urge to chew on things is also being satisfied, while at the same time listening to your voice and just having this bonding experience of reading a book together. The second thing I want to talk about is choosing a good time for reading. This does not have to do with a time of the day or a certain routine that you want to set up, although that is good too, but this has got more to do with the schema that your child is in. So have you noticed that sometimes your child wants to do something, and no matter how much you try to get them to do something else or distract them, they just will keep on doing that same thing over and over, like climbing on something. If they want to climb, they will have to climb, right? Like if they keep throwing things, they might be in the trajectory schema and they have to explore how things move through air. So how does this relate to reading? Well, if you are trying to get your child to read when they are in some movement phase where they have to do something physical, and you're trying to get them to sit down and read, one, they may not come and they will just keep moving around, making you feel frustrated. Secondly, if they do listen to you, they are missing out on listening to their own body, their own natural needs to explore. So what do you do then? I'd say observe and see if your child is engrossed in learning a new skill. Like, for example, it's not something big, right? It could be something as simple as dropping a spoon and listening to the sound it makes when it hits the ground, or seeing your reaction when they drop something and it breaks. So they're learning cause and effect. So they're thinking, if I do this, this happens, and that's a skill for them. So if they're engrossed in learning that thing, leave them alone, let them do that, and just wait for when they are ready to pick up a book or something. When my son was a toddler, I would choose times when he was more curious, and when he would pick up a book, I would genuinely get excited and I would say, come, let's read this book together. You want to see what's inside? And I would help him flip the pages and see the different pictures, and he would see that I'm getting excited and see that this is something that, you know, is fun. Mom seems to be having fun with this, so let me see what it's about. Other times we would read to him were when we were giving him a massage when he was a baby. One of us would read to him while the other massages him, so he would be relaxed and he would look at the pictures and enjoy the sound of our voice. And also when he was a baby, when we were waiting for a burp after feeding, that was like, he has to be upright, so he would be looking at a book or flipping through some pages. We also read just before going to bed. That has been a routine for us ever since he was a baby, and he's usually more calm at that time and he is usually drinking his milk. So we get into bed and dim the lights a little bit and just make this a cozy bonding time for us, and that's something we look forward to even now, bedtime reading. So apart from that story time at night, there was no specific routine when he was a toddler. And that has really worked out, because that means he was not forced to sit down with me and read, and he saw that genuinely when he picked up a book, that could turn into a fun experience. The next thing I would like you to consider is if you're being too clean or too tidy. Now, I like having a clean space and being organized as much as the next person, but sometimes as new parents, we get overwhelmed by the amount of baby stuff that's taking over our home, and we try to put everything away just to maintain some sense of order, right? So we try to pick up the toys, put away the books, everything is out of sight, and that makes us feel a little calm. But for babies, out of sight really means out of mind. So when you put away those books, they're really actually forgetting about them. So I would suggest leaving a few, not too many, but a few books along with their toys. So when my son was less than 1 year old, I would mix his toys and books together. There was only a few at that point, and they would all be in a bin. After we've tidied up, they would all be in a big open wide basket, front and center in his play area, so he could pick through books and toys as he wants to. And as we added more books to his collection, we put them in an open cart facing all the books forward, so he could see the covers of all the books, and that's usually what's recommended for babies and toddlers. I would say start with just a few books and leave them around with their toys and just let them pick them up and flip through it. Like, that's it. That's what reading is at this point. There's nothing more to it. To sidetrack a little bit, I sometimes get asked why I focus so much on reading for babies and toddlers, because they are going to read all their lives. They're going to be reading in school anyway, so why pressure them from when they're so young, which is the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do. But when you think this way, it means that you see reading as a very serious academic business, something that you only do at school for marks. You don't see it as something that brings you joy. I know a lot of you don't think this way and you actually enjoy reading books for the sake of reading, but remember that whatever your attitude is towards books, your child is going to inherit that, at least in the first few years of their life. So if they see you enjoying a book, reading it for pleasure, they will see that this is something that is fun. So whatever the parents' attitude is, we need to be a little bit more mindful of projecting that to our children. And also notice that I focus a lot on reading to children, not getting the children to read. So that is also important. Literacy is important, getting them to learn their ABCs. All of that will come later. It will all come at its own time. But what I want to stress on is reading for pleasure, reading to enjoy our time together, reading as a way of bonding with your child. And the way that your voice changes when you read is also noticeable to the child, and all of this is new. And also a couple of other things, I would suggest reading what is written in the book as much as possible. So it's good to choose appropriate books beforehand so that you don't have to make much changes to whatever is written. Sometimes I need to make changes to what's written. Like, for example, I don't like using the word hate with my preschooler or when my son was very young. So instead of hate, I would read it as does not like. And that change would be something I would do every single time I read that book. So I would suggest reading the actual words in the book, and if there's any changes you make, use the same vocabulary every time. why this is important is because our the vocabulary that we use when we are talking normally is usually different from the vocabulary that's there in the books, and they get exposed to a lot of rich language when you actually read the book to them. I say this because sometimes I notice parents reading a book, but they're actually not reading the words in it. They are just making up the story as they go along, which is fine sometimes. But also I would put this idea forward that actually read the book if you've not been doing that. So those were a few things I wanted to share with you guys. And if you want ideas for picking books for babies and toddlers, I have a bunch of videos about these, about starting a library for your child, a book collection for your child, and you're welcome to check those out. I'll leave them all in the description box below, and leave a comment down below if you found some tips that are useful for you while reading with your child. Just to end, I would like to apologize to anyone I haven't replied to personally. I know a lot of you have been asking questions about this topic, and I've tried to reply to everyone, but like you heard, I had a lot to say and sometimes it gets a little late. So I'm extremely sorry if I've not replied to you personally, but I hope you were able to get some ideas from this and some ways that you could practically implement with your child. And if you do, please let me know. I love hearing from you, and I love seeing the pictures you sent of you reading with your children, the same books that me and Vikrant read. It makes me feel like we have something in common, so it just makes my day. So thank you for sharing those, and I'll see you in another video of mine. So until then, please take care of yourselves and be safe. Bye.